Hey guys, what's up? So finally the setup is done. So now I'll be starting with the book. It's called Autobiography of a Yogi. It was written by Paramahansa Yogananda. So let's start with the introduction. So I'll be reading it for you all guys. Let's start with it. Introduction. The experience of meeting Paramahansa Yogananda is etched in my memory as one of the unforgettable events of my life. As I looked into his face, my eyes were almost dazzled by a radiance, a light of spirituality that literally shone from him. His infinite gentleness, his gracious kindliness enveloped me like warm sunshine. I could see that his understanding and insight extended to the most mundane of problems, even though he was a man of spirit. In him, I found a true ambassador of India, carrying and spreading the essence of India's ancient wisdom to the world. So this was said by Dr. Binay R. Sain, former ambassador of India to the United States. To those who were personally acquainted with Paramahansa Yogananda, his own life and being were convincing testimony to the power and authenticity of the ancient wisdom he presented to the world. Countless readers of his autobiography have attested to the presence in its pages of that same light of spiritual authority that radiated from his person. Hailed as a masterpiece when it first appeared in print 75 years ago, the book set forth not only the story of a life of unmistakable greatness, but a fascinating introduction to the spiritual thought of the East, especially its unique science of direct personal communion with God, opening up to the Western public a realm of knowledge hitherto accessible only to a few. Today, Autobiography of a Yogi is recognized around the world as a classic of spiritual literature. In this introduction, we would like to share some of the book's extraordinary history. The history of the development and publication of this book is an extraordinary one. The writing of the work had been prophesied long ago. One of the seminal figures in the renaissance of yoga in modern times, the revered 19th century master Lahiri Mahashaya, had foretold, about 50 years after my passing, an account of my life will be written because of a deep interest in yoga that will arise in the West. The message of yoga will encircle the globe. It will aid in establishing the brotherhood of man, a unity based on humanity's direct perception of one Father. Many years later, Lahiri Mahashaya's exalted disciple, Swami Sri Yukteswar, related this prophecy to Sri Yogananda. You must do your part in spreading that message, he declared, and in writing that sacred life. It was in 1945, exactly 50 years after Lahiri Mahashaya's passing, that Paramahansa Yogananda completed his autobiography of a yogi, which amply fulfilled both of his guru's injunctions, providing the first detailed presentation in English of Lahiri Mahashaya's remarkable life and introducing to a world audience India's age-old science of the soul. The creation of Autobiography of a Yogi was a project that Paramahansa Yogananda worked on over a period of many years. Sri Daya Mata, one of his earliest and closest disciples, recalls, when I came to Mount Washington in 1931, Paramahansa Ji had already begun to work on the autobiography. Once when I was in his study attending to some secretarial duties, I was privileged to see one of the first chapters he wrote. It was on Tiger Swami. He asked me to save it and explained that it would be going into a book he was writing. Most of the book was composed later, between 1937 and 1945. From June 1935 through October 1936, Sri Yogananda had made a return trip to India via Europe and Palestine for a last visit with his guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar. While there, he had compiled much factual data for the autobiography, as well as stories about some of the saints and sages whom he had known and whose lives he was to describe so memorably in the book. I had never forgotten Sri Yukteswar's request that I write the life of Lahiri Mahashaya. He later wrote, during my stay in India, I was taking every opportunity to contact direct disciples and relatives of the Yoga avatar, recording their conversations in voluminous notes. I verified facts and dates and collected photographs, old letters and documents. Upon his return to the United States at the end of 1936, he began to spend much of his time at the hermitage that had been built for him in his absence in Encinitas on the southern California coast. It proved to be an ideal place to concentrate on completing the book he had begun years before. Still vivid in my memory are the days spent in that peaceful seaside hermitage, recounts Sri Daya Mata. He had so many other responsibilities and commitments that he was not able to work on the autobiography every day. But in general, he devoted the evenings to it and whatever free time he could spare. Beginning around 1939 or 40, he was able to concentrate full time on the book. And full time it was, from early morning until early morning. A small group of us disciples, Tara Mata, my sister Ananda Mata, Shraddha Mata, and myself were present to assist him. After each part was typed, he would give it to Tara Mata, who served as his editor. What treasured memories as he wrote. He relived inwardly the sacred experiences he was recording. His divine intent was to share the joy and revelations encountered in the company of saints and great masters and in one's own personal realization of the divine. Often he would pause for a time, his gaze uplifted and his body motionless, wrapped in the samadhi state of deep communion with God. The whole room would be filled with a tremendously powerful aura of divine love. For us disciples, merely to be present at such times was to be lifted into a higher state of consciousness. Finally, in 1945 came the jubilant day of the book's completion. Paramahansa Ji wrote the last words, "Lord, thou hast given this monk a large family," then laid down his pen and joyously exclaimed, "All done, it is finished. This book will change the lives of millions. It will be my messenger when I am gone." It then became Tara Mata's responsibility to find a publisher. Paramahansa Yogananda had met Tara Mata while conducting a series of lectures and classes in San Francisco in 1924. Possessed of rare spiritual insight, she became one of the small circle of his most advanced disciples. He held her editorial abilities in highest esteem and used to say that she had one of the most brilliant minds of anyone he had ever met. He appreciated her vast knowledge and understanding of India's scriptural wisdom and remarked on one occasion, "Excepting my great guru, Sri Yukteswar Ji, there is no one with whom I have more enjoyed talking of Indian philosophy." Tara Mata took the manuscript to New York City, but finding a publisher was not an easy task. As can often be observed, the true stature of a great work may not at first be recognized by those of a more conventional cast of mind. Despite the newly born atomic age having enlarged the collective consciousness of humanity with a growing understanding of the subtle unity of matter, energy and thought, the publishers of the day were hardly ready for such chapters as materializing a palace in the Himalayas and the saint with two bodies. For a year, Tara Mata lived in a sparsely furnished, unheated cold water flat while making the rounds of publishing houses. At last, she was able to send a cable with news of success. The Philosophical Library, a respected New York publisher, had accepted the autobiography for publication. What she has done for this book, I cannot begin to describe. Sri Yogananda said, but for her, the book would never have gone through. Shortly before Christmas 1946, the long-awaited books reached Mount Washington. The book was greeted by readers and by the world press with an outpouring of appreciative praise. There has been nothing before written in English or in any other language like this presentation of yoga, wrote Columbia University Press in its review of religions. The New York Times proclaimed it a rare account. Newsweek reported Yogananda's book is rather an autobiography of the soul than of the body. It is a fascinating and clearly annotated study of a religious way of life, ingeniously described in the lush style of the Orient. With the translation of the book into other languages, many more reviews began appearing in newspapers and periodicals around the world. A second edition was quickly prepared, and in 1951 a third, in addition to revising and updating portions of the text and deleting some passages describing organizational activities and plans that were no longer current. Paramahansa Yogananda added a final chapter, one of the longest in the book, covering the years 1940 to 1951. In a footnote to the new chapter, he wrote, "Much new material in chapter 49 has been added to the third edition of this book, 1951. In response to requests made by a number of readers of the first two editions, I have answered in this chapter various questions about India, yoga and Vedic philosophy. I have been intensely moved, Sri Yogananda wrote in an author's note to the 1951 edition, to receive letters from thousands of readers. Their comments and the fact that the book has been translated into many languages encourages me to believe that the West has found in these pages an affirmative answer to the question: has the ancient science of yoga any worthwhile place in the life of the modern man? With the passing years, thousands of readers became millions, and the enduring and universal appeal of Autobiography of a Yogi has become increasingly apparent. 75 years after the book was first published, it is still appearing on metaphysical and inspirational bestseller list, a rare phenomenon. Available in many translations and also as an audiobook narrated by Sir Ben Kingsley and as an ebook. It is also widely used in colleges and universities all over the world in courses ranging from Eastern philosophy and religion to English literature, psychology, sociology, anthropology, history, and even business management. An award-winning documentary film, Awake, The Life of Yogananda, was released in 2014 and has brought many of the stories from the autobiography to cinema audiences worldwide. As predicted more than a century ago by Lahiri Mahashaya, the message of yoga and its ancient tradition of meditation has indeed encircled the globe. Perhaps best known for his autobiography of a yogi, which has inspired countless millions around the world. Writes the metaphysical journal New Frontier, October 1986, Paramahansa Yogananda, like Gandhi, brought spirituality into the mainstream of society. It is reasonable to say that Yogananda did more to put the word yoga into our vocabulary than any other person. Noted Harvard University religion scholar Diana L. Eck echoed this observation when she wrote in her book, A New Religious America, published in 2001. Yogananda's theme song was one that struck a popular chord in America, the uniting of science and religion. Yogananda put yoga on the map in America. Phyllis Tickle, former religion editor of Publishers Weekly and one of the foremost authorities on religion in America until her passing in 2015, wrote in her book, God Talk in America, April 1997. Few books have had greater impact on popular theology than Paramahansa Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi. The respected scholar Dr. David Frawley, director of the American Institute of Vedic Studies, writing in the bi-monthly journal Yoga International, states, Yogananda can be said to be the father of yoga in the West, not the mere physical yoga that has become popular, but the spiritual yoga, the science of self-realization that is the real meaning of yoga. Professor Ashutosh Das of Calcutta University declares Autobiography of a Yogi is regarded as an Upanishad of the new age. It has satisfied the spiritual thirst of truth seekers throughout the world. We in India have watched with wonder and fascination the phenomenal spread of the popularity of this book about India's saints and philosophy. We have felt great satisfaction and pride that the immortal nectar of India's Sanatan Dharma, the eternal laws of truth, has been stored in the golden chalice of Autobiography of a Yogi. Even in the former Soviet Union, the book apparently made a deep impression on the relative few who had access to it under the communist regime. Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer, former judge of India's Supreme Court, tells of visiting a town near St. Petersburg and asking a group of professors there whether they had thought about what happens when man dies. One of the professors quietly went inside and came out with a book, Autobiography of a Yogi. I was surprised. In a country ruled by the materialistic philosophy of Marx and Lenin, here is an official of a government institute showing me Paramahansa Yogananda's book. Please realize that the spirit of India is not alien to us, he said. We accept the authenticity of everything recorded in this book. In recent years, the book has been hailed by booksellers, reviewers, and readers alike as one of the most influential spiritual books of modern times. In a 1999 HarperCollins panel of authors and scholars, Autobiography of a Yogi was selected as one of the 100 best spiritual books of the century. And in his 50 spiritual classics, which was released in 2005, Tom Butler Bowden wrote that the book was justifiably celebrated as one of the most entertaining and enlightening spiritual books ever written. In the book's final chapter, Paramahansa Yogananda writes of the profound assurance which has been affirmed by saints and sages of all the world's religions down through the ages. God is love. His plan for creation can be rooted only in love. Does not that simple thought, rather than erudite reasonings, offer solace to the human heart? Every saint who has penetrated to the core of reality has testified that a divine universal plan exists and that it is beautiful and full of joy. It is our hope that all readers of this inspiring work, those who are encountering it for the first time, as well as those for whom it has become a long cherished companion on life's path, will find their own souls opening to a deeper faith in the transcendent truth that lies at the heart of life's seeming mysterious. So the next topic is like the eternal law of righteousness. The flag of independent India 1947 has bands of deep saffron, white and dark green. The navy blue Dharma Chakra, wheel of the law, is a reproduction of the design appearing on the Sarnath stone pillar erected in the 3rd century BC by Emperor Ashok. The wheel was chosen as a symbol of the eternal law of righteousness and incidentally as an honor to the memory of the world's most illustrious monarch. His reign of 40 years is without a parallel in history, writes the English historian H.G. Rawlinson. He has been compared at various times to Marcus Aurelius, St. Paul and Constantine, 250 years before Christ. Ashok had the courage to express his horror and remorse at the results of a successful campaign and deliberately to renounce war as a means of policy. Ashoka's inherited dominions included India, Nepal, Afghanistan and Baluchistan. The first internationalist, he sent religious and cultural missions with many gifts and blessings to Burma, Ceylon, Egypt, Syria and Macedonia. Ashoka, the third king of the Maurya line, was one of the great philosopher kings of history. The scholar P. Masson Orzel observed, "No one has combined energy and benevolence, justice and charity as he did. He was the living embodiment of his own time and he comes before us quite a modern figure. In the course of a long reign, he achieved what seems to us to be a mere aspiration of the visionary. Enjoying the greatest possible material power, he organized peace. Far beyond his own vast dominions, he realized what has been the dream of some religions, universal order, an order embracing mankind. Dharma, cosmic law, aims at the happiness of all creatures. In his rock edicts and stone pillars surviving to this day, Ashoka lovingly advises the subjects of his far-flung empire that happiness is rooted in morality and godliness. Modern India, aspiring to renew the eminence and prosperity that for millenniums enveloped the land, pays homage in her new flag to the memory of Ashok, sovereign, dear to the gods." So this was it. So I'll be seeing you in the next video. I'll be starting with the first chapter. Till then, take care of yourself and work hard. Nothing is impossible in this life. Take care. I'll see you again. Ayushya Mukul.